if you go in too enthusiastic, you can really scare people out. You can also focus on yourself for a couple of minutes a day. Fire off a rocket, you really have to be fully prepared.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Sound of Sales. In this episode, I'm talking with Cédric about building your personal brand and the power of knowing yourself. Enjoy this episode. Yeah, normally I do a little bit of chit-chat in the beginning, but we're a little bit all over the place. How is life, Cédric?
Very good, thank you. A little bit hectic, but it's good. Yeah,
I can tell. All right. So for the listeners that don't know Cédric, now you have 18,000 followers on LinkedIn, so I guess a lot of people know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But for the people that don't know who you are, how would your family and your friends describe what you do for a living?
It's a little bit. For some people, it's a little bit strange because they are not familiar with software. Of course, it's a flu world. It's not tangible. It's not a product which you have in your hands, for example. But they know I'm a big internal communication ambassador, and they just call me Hi Roger. So they don't say Cédric anymore. They tell me, hey, it's Roger over there. Hey Roger. They ring me up. Are we gonna drink a pint, for example, this evening, etc., etc. So just my mother, my dad, and my wife call me Cédric.
Okay, that's funny. So, and if I would ask your friends, hey Roger, what does Roger do in life?
Of course, they know a little bit what we do. They know we have software who streamline internal communications for companies. They know we have an app, and that's it. So it's of course it depends on how we speak with. If they are IT-minded people, they know what we do, of course. But I also have a lot of friends and family who do nothing within the IT or software business. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I said in the beginning, 18,000 people know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
How come? Because I know why what you did in the beginning of your days. You were documenting your journey. How did that go? Like, I think you need a lot of drive to keep pushing of doing that. Like, what type of content did you start with, and how did you see it evolve?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a little bit. I'm reflecting on my first steps back in the days. I think I did a post yesterday on LinkedIn regarding my first meetup with Michael Humblet, the 31st of May 2017. I will never forget that moment because I was, of course, a LinkedIn newbie. I had a strong B2C focus. I sold insurances for more than 8 years. B2C, I did more than 40 appointments a week. And we closed one by two, one-on-one. We closed contracts. So it was high speed, very aggressive way of selling. And of course, that founded my endurance a little bit to keep going in every step I take in my life. So that's a bit the story. Of course, B2C and B2B is a little bit different. I had, I think, 300 followers on LinkedIn back in the days. And of course, I reached out to Michael and I told him, nobody knows me. He wrote a book, Nobody Knows You.
It's around here somewhere.
So that was a little bit the start of magic. I did a workshop with Michael for 2 hours. And of course, that in combination with the guts I had, with the not only the wins, but also the many losses I had selling insurances, B2C at high speed, at high volume. I have a very thick skin of receiving a no. So I have a high energy level, and that combination of everything made the magic touch to start documenting my story on LinkedIn. I remember my first video was on a bridge over the A17 here in Antwerp. I was filming myself and I was talking about entrepreneurship. It had nothing to do with MeetRoger. It had nothing to do with LinkedIn, but I was that passionate of being an entrepreneur Very young, of course. I think, what was my age? 26, 27. With no experience regarding LinkedIn, no experience regarding B2B, but I just started. And that first step was, in fact, the beginning of a fantastic journey. And by starting documenting, I really, via a trial and error, experimenting with everything I had, every idea, I documented it on LinkedIn, good, bad. For some guys, I was famous. For some guys, they hate me, but that's good for me because they know me. That was a bit the strategy in the beginning. And then, of course, with the right tactics, the right strategy, the right tools, you can, of course, scale at high speed. And that's a little bit, in a nutshell, the journey in a couple of minutes. But it take me, of course, 4 to 5 years, to be clear.
Yeah. And what type of content did you go with, and are you now going with? Has it changed over the years?
Well, yes and no. I had a lot of topics that I wrote down to document on LinkedIn, but now there are 3 main pillars I talk about: entrepreneurship, of course. Secondly, the LinkedIn platform as such, the network. For me, it's really, if you use LinkedIn on a very focused way, but on a very natural way, it's really one of the best channels to express yourself, to share your story, to share your wins, losses, learnings, document everything, and create your big impact social selling strategy. That I'm really convinced regarding that. So I talk about entrepreneurship, LinkedIn, and then, of course, the journey of MeetRoger, our technological startup. So those are the 3 main pillars. Back in the days, I had for about 6 main pillars, but you really have to streamline it and build consistency in your story, because else you lose, of course, your audience. But always with a big smile, always with a high level energy, always with a high level enthusiasm, because that's very important. Yeah.
And what type of content do you notice is working for you and your personal brand? Is that video or is that text?
Well, before I want to talk about text, video, or something like that, what is the biggest differentiator I use regarding other people who are very strong on LinkedIn is every post is very interhuman. I am a human being. I talk to human beings. I want to connect human to human. That's always it's my heart. It's not my mindset, it's my heart. So I think it's very important to me. If I push something in the world, it has to be human. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a text, video, a visual, a blog post, whatever. I think a combination between text and a visual or video is the best way to go. People like to see things. People do not always like to read things. A visual tells more than 1,000 words. You know that saying, I suppose. Yeah. And it's true. We also see that at our customer database within Roger, if they communicate something regarding an HR process, for example, and they embed a visual, the engagement is 25 to 30% higher than without a visual. And I strongly believe that with external communication, it's also the same way.
Yeah, I saw a post, somebody else I'm following on LinkedIn, who made a comparison to real life. Who said if you send an email, it's like meeting someone on the corner of the street. If you send a LinkedIn message, it's like meeting someone in a bar. You're not gonna talk to someone in a bar about, hey, this is what my business is doing, mm-hmm. so to say. Mm-hmm. So I follow what you say there. Now, do you notice that running the personal brand versus your business, that people know you from it, or is it more of creating the awareness across a larger audience, or is it directly related to your business as well?
Well, it's people recognize you, of course, because I'm that active on LinkedIn. I really post 2, 3, 4 messages a week. I also interact a lot of things on LinkedIn, liking, sharing, commenting, etc., etc. But it's not because I'm a machine. It's really because I'm sincerely interested in other people's content because it strengthens my own capabilities. That's how I'm into the LinkedIn network. I've become who I am right now at 32 years of age because I'm always being a doer. I'm not a thinker. I do before I think. That's also a little bit, for some people a threshold, of course, but I really do before I think in a lot of things. It's also a strength because I can operate at high speed in everything. If you tell me A, I've already sold it to person X, for example. People recognize me from the personal brand because they can align with the personal thoughts I have with particular successes, wins, losses, customer cases, particular situations in the media, and I have shared my personal opinion about that. And you do not always have to agree with that opinion, but you can align with that with your thoughts in your brain and eventually potentially with your heart. So I strongly believe that a personal brand can enable the company brand and vice versa, because you push the interhuman connection in your company, and that is what buyers seek today. Yep. A cold advertising without knowing who is after the company, who is the founder, or who is the customer success lead, or who is the developer. It's more personal.
And it probably also generates trust.
Definitely, because they see a face. And or
they
hear,
know who you are.
Or know a tone of voice. That's also the reason. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I pushed a family picture of me, my wife, and my kids.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You can tell. Oh no, that's for Facebook. Or oh no, why do you do that? It's your private stuff, etc., etc. It's one of my most important key drivers to see them happy. I flourish within my business. I flourish if I can help people. I also flourish if I can sell stuff, of course. That's to be clear. But I also flourish if people who are connected with me smile and are happy. And for me, it's a key driver to make them happy, and not for creating businesses to make money, etc., etc. That's not the key driver. If we can share success together as one team, one dream, that's what makes me happy. And that's even more important than money, than recognition, than outreach, than having 18,000 followers. And that's who I want, that people recognize. Oh, that's Cédric from MeetRoger. He's the passionate guy. He is the enthusiastic guy. Oh, he has too much energy. We have to talk with his co-founder, Yves. Yeah, perfect for me, but they have to know it.
Yeah, that's very well said. It's very nice. The human behind the brand, I think it's something that's often forgotten as well, is in sales outreach and that sort of stuff. There's a lot of times that people give negative feedback on young SDRs, for example, or young salespeople, because they don't have they don't know yet how to put that passion into practice, like what you are able to now. Before we jumped on this podcast, we had a meeting, and in that meeting you told me, so I said, like, the podcast is about sales and sales focus. It has diverted a little bit. It's more about the story behind sales, but anyway, but you told me sales yes, focus no. It's a quote that I've written down on my paper. So yeah, you're very passionate. But you also told me, like, the insights discovery test. Mm-hmm. Can you explain to people what the insights discovery test is and how it works?
A little bit. Insight discovery is a way to, of course, screen a human being based on his interhuman capabilities, emotional intelligence. Of course, the IQ has also been tested. And what is your focus on? And the result is expressed in colors. And you have red, yellow, green, and blue. So red is, of course, the assertive part of the game. You're like a pit bull in sales. You can make hard decisions and you go straight forward. So that's red. Yellow is like if you are the social guy, always smiling guy. You are the creative guy. You are the how do you say it in English? Extravert. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay.
Understand.
Okay. Perfect. That's yellow. The green guy is the interhuman guy. They are really, oh, hey, how are you? And they are really concentrated on how is the well-being of my personnel, how is the well-being of my colleague, my family, friends, focused on the human being. And blue is really analytic part, financial driven, results, numbers. I'm not the numbers guy. Blue
I've written that down as well.
Blue is like or maybe 10% of the 100% who is Cédric. Yeah. Then we have green, because I love people, I like people. Then we have red with yellow, very short notice. Yeah. So I'm like the social guy. I want to inspire, motivate, take people in tow, but I also can make hard decisions, and I'm also that pit bull who can go straight forward. That's who I am. Yeah. And based on those colors, you can read people. And I did the test 4 years ago, on motivation of one of my shareholders. And afterwards, I was really happy by knowing those information, of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And being very yellow and a little bit red, how do you tackle your sales process with that? Because I can assume you're then the person that opens the door. Here I am. Start talking, or is that a wrong impression?
Back in the days it was like that. Yes, indeed. Now these days I can really temper myself. But I must say I'm also ready to rock. So that's not different as my process back in the days. But you have to learn it, of course. I can temper myself because in the B2B strategy, sales strategy, you have to listen. What is the problem? You have to pose the right questions at the right moment. You have to have more patience because you have to go for meeting by meeting by meeting by meeting. B2C is you open the door, here I am, I want to close now. B2B is a little bit different. You have time, you have a particular schedule, like for example, an acquaintance meeting, follow-up meeting. Then you have the first meeting with the decision making. Then you have potentially with all the decision makers around the table. Then you have to pass legal, you have to pass purchasing, etc., etc. It's a process. You sell to a company. B2C is you sell to a person. Yeah. So I have learned to temper myself. But I must say, if you are that yellow, that red, it's not an easy game. I run on a 2 daily basis to increase the aura around me and to give like a calm energy. Yeah. And if I need to break out, I will break out. But it's very important it's not always easy to be Cédric. It's also important to share because you have to, how do you say it? You have to calm your energy level as a sales guy, because if you go in too enthusiastic, you can really scare people out. Yeah. If you if you enter the room with too low energy, you can create also a different aura around you, of course. So yeah.
Are you busy with with that side of things, the aura and meditation and that sort of stuff as well?
Yeah,
is that something that triggers you?
For 1 year now, I have discovered, I think 2 years ago, Mind Valley. Mind Valley, it exists for a long time, but I didn't know it. I like the way they bring different topics of life right in your ears, for example, via podcast, etc., etc. I love it. It's also based on health, meditation. It distracts you from the daily business, and that's good. Because you cannot always be focused on your business. There is a life next to your business. There is also a life next to your family, because you can also focus on yourself for a couple of minutes a day. And if it's based in, if you can focus on sports, fine. If you focus on meditation, fine. If you focus on creating a better mindset, fine. So yeah, I'm really, I give a lot of attention on that. But I must say, I read 2 less books. I've ordered all the books of Steven van Bellegem because I love him. I love his methodology, his future vision, and I only read 1. Yeah, so in the format of a book, I cannot do it at this moment in my life. In a format of a podcast or a video, I love it because I can listen it when I'm running, when I'm in the car, etc., etc. So yeah.
So we're jumping back and forth from personal to sales, but I got another question about how do you balance all these things out? Can you turn off the sales mindset in the evening, or yeah, give me 24 hours with Cédric. What's he like?
Whew. Yeah, that's a good question. I will be warmed up after 15, 18 hours. You will be, maybe potentially be decreased in energy level. No, I think you will get motivated, of course. I temper myself of being always on. Of course, for my own health, my own mindset. I do not want to get burned up because I've seen a lot in the past 13 years of being an entrepreneur, or want to become a big one, of course. I try to think on a daily basis of who I am and where do I come from. That's an important exercise I do on a daily basis. Who am I? Where do I come from? What are the steps I've been taking? What can I teach my kids to not do the same, to not make the same mistakes, for example? So I have 3 kids. My youngest is 3, my son is 6, and my eldest daughter is 7. So besides the busy life of expanding MeetRoger and being an ambassador at LinkedIn, it's always a circus here at home. Yeah, so that's also important. I got a lot of distraction over here. So I focus on my kids, of course also on my wife, and I really focus on a couple of minutes of reflection of who are you? Are you happy? The things you have done today, do they make you happy? Were it the right things? I am also very critic, especially in the last year, to myself regarding the steps I make, decisions I make. Was it a good one? I'm also taking exercises of being mad on myself, of being very critical on myself.
How do you do that?
By go walking and running and think about the decisions, circumstances you are in at that moment, and really reflecting on what the hell did you do, guy? Really ask yourself that question on a very critical way, and then you have to let it flourish in your mind, let it go, take it back, and then I've made an agreement with myself. If I'm back from running, walking, whatever, it has to be cleared. You have to have a conclusion. So it's not like I'm running and talking to myself. That's not the thing, Bram.
I have more a side of Rocky in my mind who walks up on the stairs.
No. I'm not Rocky, because if people see me on the street, they will think, oh, it's the crazy Roger. No. But you have to do that. You have to train yourself on a very critical way. And I think that's the most important exercise I do, because if people tell me something, feedback, criticize me, give me a compliment, whatever, and that's the difficult part of working together with me, I think, or living with me at some way, is you have to be very fast to get my attention. And if you have my attention, you will really have to be fast to tell your thing to me, because else I'm already thinking about the next thing. And that's a little bit, that's a big threshold for me as a person, because I'm a fast lane doer. That's a little bit, I cannot subscribe it else than a potential threshold.
Yeah, and how does that come into practice with people you manage or employees of you?
Well, of course, if we talk about, for example, there's a reason why I'm the chief revenue officer and not the CEO. Yeah, I'm not the guy who has the ambition at this point of my life of being a big CEO, because I do not have the capabilities. You have to be honest with yourself. Yeah, I have the capabilities to run revenue. I have the capabilities to bring an MVP to the market on a very social selling way, potentially a very aggressive way, potentially B2C, potentially B2B. Yeah. I also have the capabilities to share a story on a very interhuman way, because that's the way who I am. I love other human beings. I have respect for other human beings, despite the fact I am that yellow and red. Yeah, so that's also important to understand. I love building bridges. I do not love blowing up bridges. I also love our customers, because a customer is the best business card you have as a company. And if you have a fantastic relation with the customer, you can also ask a lot of things to that customer, like testimonials, like we have done the Roger series. We have really hired a truck with, we have put a sofa on it. We have called every CEO, CFO, also human resource managers, etc. From, hey, that day we will pass by with the Roger truck, and we want to interview you on that truck in the sofa. Yeah, and everybody who we have called, they said, "Oh, of course, Cédric, that's not a problem. We will do that." That's a kind of relation you have to build with your customers, and that's who I am. Yeah. I'm not the guy like Yves is my guy. He is our CEO of Roger, because he is very good in structure. He is very good in building procedures. He is very good in lead people. He is very good in finance. He is like he's like the brother from another mother with the right mindset, with the good portion of blue in the sky, and he also loves people. So I think you understand my point. Yeah. I need people around me who fill up my potential pieces of the puzzle I do not have. But that's a great thing, because I know what I'm capable of. I also know what I'm not capable of. So I have to surround myself with the right person at the right time, at the right place. And I'm very grateful for that, because the MeetRoger project as such have taught me that, it gave me that insight. And that was the biggest and most sincere message I have ever learned in my life. So I also, for that matter, I'm very grateful. You understand? So that's important. For sure. So you have to give a little bit attention to self-esteem. You have to build on your confidence, but you have to be critical on yourself, of your capabilities, yes or no. And I think for a sales person, if it's a business developer, if it's a hardcore sales guy in B2C, you have to know yourself. And if you want to fire off a rocket, you really have to be fully prepared.
Yeah, true. But I can see myself in parts of what you say, that you want to drive forward, and if somebody doesn't grab your attention immediately, you're already lost and you're already in the next spot. How do you? I have personally problems then when somebody new steps in, an SDR or whatever. So you're gonna, if you manage salespeople, for example, do you notice that you have that with them as well? That you're like on a short, how you say it in English, een kort lontje, when it comes to, get shit done. You know what I mean? Does it manifest when you work with, of course, as chief revenue, you'll have people that need to do some things.
Yeah, definitely. No, of course, within Team Roger, we are taking the first steps within that kind of building our sales team, etc., because the main sales lead is me. We of course have Giuseppe in the Netherlands, and he's a great guy. He has a lot of experience. He has 25, 30 years experience. So that's a great cooperation, because he knows what he's talking about. He just has to receive all the pieces of information out of my head, out of the procedures, and then that person, he flourishes. I'm fully convinced he can do everything. I do not have to teach him anything, but I only have to teach him the methodology of Roger. So that's great. If I do a small throwback to back in the days, because when I was selling insurances, I had 85 B2C sales guys on the road. Yeah. What I have learned based on that time frame within that company, you can really have patience with people, but you also make you also need to make the right decision at the right time with people, not to fire them, but to analyze how you teach them something, how you can flourish them out of their personal skills in the market, because there's no second Cédric, there's no second Bram, there's no second Michael Humblet. Every person has his own personality, and the sales process you have made has to be aligned with the person that you are. So you can adapt the story, but you may never adapt, of course, the sales steps you need to make. So that's important to understand. And of course, like you said, a kort lontje, potentially, but I always stay human, because every person has to learn. And it's not because you are fasting things that other people are fasting things. Like, for example, if I do not understand like a budget exercise Yves, my co-founder, has made, I also pose a lot of questions to Yves. How did you do that? And what is the reason that formula is in that line, for example? And he always takes time, and he looks in my eyes and he tells, okay, like, this is the first step, this is the second step, this is the third step. And that is what I respect the most. Like, for example, on the capabilities of Yves, he has taught me, if I, as a chief revenue, want to bring over the sales process, the storyline. I'm, of course, the founder of MeetRoger, so the story, when it comes out, it's really out of my belly. It's very natural. That's logical, because I wrote down the first idea on a piece of paper, and then brought it to an MVP and brought it to the market. But I try to place myself in the shoes of the second sales guy, and then we start building up the trust, the story, the process, step by step. And it's a bit bizarre, but for that type of teaching, learning, I can have patience, because I know how important it is to make speed afterwards.
Yeah, true. I have sometimes that you do something, it backfires, and it stays in your mind like, okay, if I post something here, or if I do this tactic, I have to watch out for this. What are the mistakes that you have come by in the recent years that are still in your mind from like, okay, I have to watch out that this doesn't happen?
Yeah, good question. Of course, there are mistakes, no doubt about that. I learn from my mistakes, but I do not stand still for a decade, for example. So give me 1 minute. Of course, that's a bit my nature, of course. I want to force things at some time zone, because it's like a smell I have when customers are fooling around with you. They fill in a quote or a demo, etc., etc. I really see and analyze that very short notice. What potentially can be a mistake is that you force things too much, that people are starting to ignore you, or like relate your how do you say it? Your actions, they relate it to the company and vice versa, for example. Like, for example, you make an agreement with the customer to call back next Friday at 2 p.m. Do not disturb them before next Friday, 2 p.m., because you are that enthusiastic and energetic to close the deal. That's, for example, a mistake I have made several times in the past. Yeah, definitely. And in B2C, you come along, you can manage that. B2B, you can really fire up a deal. So that's, for example, a mistake I made a lot in the past years.
What other things have you discovered in that B2B market that were different from B2C? That's super interesting, I think.
Yeah, speed, of course. You can close a deal within a half an hour in B2C. That's not a problem, or like in a couple of minutes. So that's also not a problem. Of course, the sales process and the time frame is different. That's a bit logical. Deals are in B2B is 3, 6, 9, 12 months somehow. Definitely in our business, of course, because we sell at high volume companies, like from 500 to 5, 15, 20,000 employees on the payroll. So it's logical that the time frame of the first acquaintance and the closing is, of course, much longer. In the beginning, I did not hate B2B, but I missed the B2C connection with the customer.
Okay.
Because, and what I'm gonna say is I'm not grateful COVID broke out. No, because COVID is a virus. We lost people. People are getting sick. The economy get a big smack, etc., etc. I'm not telling here. I'm grateful.
It's just disclaimer.
It's a small disclaimer because the YouTube comments will pop on or the LinkedIn comments. No, that's not the thing. But what I'm grateful for that COVID brought out in the B2B sales strategy or just the if you do a talk with a B2B connection, is that the interhuman part is really penetrated in every step you take now if you talk to other companies, because everybody is now convinced that the interhuman connection is primarily than a B2B company connection, for example. And that is really I'm grateful for, because I know COVID broke out. I had a presentation for a board for a big company, and my youngest daughter was coming in here in the room, and she started sitting on my lap, and I was really pitching the MeetRoger platform with my daughter here. Oh yeah, etc., etc. And the reaction was, oh, that's cute. Oh, that's a little Rogerian, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So if you tell me in the beginning, I did not hate B2B, but it was a big adaptation, of course, because B2C you can really have a chit chat. You feel the interhuman connection. B2B before COVID, I had less the feeling of an interhuman connection.
Yeah, it's
because
cold, huh?
yeah, it's very cold, and I love hot selling and not cold selling. Based on an interhuman connection then. And COVID-19 brought really like an interhuman injection in the sales process to sell B2B contracts. So I'm grateful for that small part COVID brought out. Of course, the rest we are not going to talk about that. So that was a big change for me, my mindset and my feeling.
Yeah, I think quite some listeners would agree that it had an impact, of course, on other things than business. But I think the impact on the business, of course, unless you were affected by it. Mm-hmm. But I think in B2B selling, it brought good things as well. People started to understand more of technology as well.
Yeah, definitely.
They now need platforms to work remotely and do stuff and that sort of things.
Yeah, that's of course the second part. Indeed, the awareness of technology and the importance of it, and in which way it can affect your company on a positive way. And of course, it's very nice to see it. It's not depending anymore of young and old, digital dino, digital savvy. Everybody has to, in a particular way.
Yeah.
So that's important to understand. We are forced to make an innovative change in doing our daily activities, doing our daily businesses, doing our daily conversations, doing our daily actions. And that's what I love the most,
How do you think it will progress after this? Is there an after this?
Well, I'm not Steven van Bellegem or Rick Verra that has I'm not the visionaire who can reflect on the future, but it's just a little bit. My guts tell me that it will expand further and further. It will speed things up to do, of course, the full transition towards a digital world, like for example, Facebook is investing a lot of things in the meta universe, etc., etc. So I really love that kind of things, but I'm also the guy who stays realistic and sees the trends of the future. I'm ready to explore the trends of the future, but I also try to stay in reality as we are now. Try to adapt new technologies for our customers, for our own operations, etc., etc. But I think things will speed up thanks to COVID, of course. So there will be, of course, an after COVID situation where companies will definitely, who are fully rolled out in a digital transition, they will take the lead. I'm convinced for that. Companies who have not done the transition will take the second, third, fourth, fifth, maybe 10th place.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels like it's a refresh button, where it's like, okay, we're gonna reinvent some things, like with the metaverse and that sort of stuff. I think that will bring a lot of stuff. But anyway. I have two more questions. The first one is, you're not a visionary, so you can't look into the future, but let's try it. What do you think the world of sales or your way of doing sales will evolve in the next 5 years? Do you think in a few years you will sit here with your VR and being in a meeting room with someone, or how do you think that will go?
Yeah, I think it can be an option. I do not know if every board member or decision maker is ready to make those kind of decisions via VR glasses. So I think, you will have early adopters and etc. For that kind of technology. I think it will be definitely still a combination. If we talk about 5 years, I think new technologies will penetrate at high speed. Of course, that will be very realistic. But I don't think that 99% of the decisions will be made via VR glass and me showcase the platform, etc., etc. I do not think that, but strongly, definitely a combination, and more technology will be involved regarding those process. Yeah, definitely. If we reflect on Roger, before COVID, I drove 1,000 kilometers per week. I did a lot of physical meetings. After COVID, I do maximum for the business then 150, 200 kilometers a week, maximum. And just from going home to the office and going back. So yeah, that's a
Once
big
a week
evolution.
now in this period.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, so you understand that's also a big difference. So we do everything online at this moment, thanks to COVID-19, and it saves time, it saves FTEs, it gives us more focus on other operations. So that's a good. That's a good thing. So it wakes us up for going as a digital frontliner for internal communication, to also do our internal processes more digital and communicate that to the customer. Yeah, definitely.
Breathe your own vision, basically.
Yeah. Practice what you preach.
Practice what you preach, indeed. That was the sentence. Okay, cool. But last question. I ask this to everyone. If tomorrow I tell you, Cédric, I have a billboard here for you. You can put anything on it, but not marketing related. I have to say that now because some people want to put marketing words on it. What would you put on it and why?
Hi, I'm Cédric. Join my conversation.
And why?
That's a great door opener to start selling.
Join my conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
People will come to you and tell you, hey, I want to join your conversation. What are you doing here? They will always pose a question, and that question is your little fire to build up a roaring blaze.
It's actually a nice one, if you think about it. Smart. And it came directly top of mind actually.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit a bizarre capability of me. You can really analyze it as that's a little bit strange, a little bit bizarre piece of the puzzle of Cedric. But I constantly, if I'm in the car and I'm thinking about an idea, I'm telling it to someone, not physically, but in my
I
head.
do that physically.
Okay, yeah. If I think about something, I'm immediately pitching it to someone, and that's a little bit the way my brain is working. So I'm pitching it to someone, and it's a good sentence. I write it down in my notes. So my notebook, I think it's like 5 gigabytes with all ideas, quotes, etc., etc. So if you ask me something like that, it will always roll out something, but naturally. It's not prepared or something like that. So yeah, that would be my advice. You posed a question, and I saw myself standing over there with like like in a Hollywood film with a billboard on myself. Hi, I'm Cedric. Join the conversation.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I would do that if you would ask me. I would straightforward do that. Go to Antwerp in the Mer, and I would sell myself.
We are doing all sorts of challenges here. Michael Himblay was challenged for doing a presentation without any slides. Maybe we should put this up as a challenge that someday there will be Cédric, come to the Mer.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, perfect.
This is in the notebook.
Will do.
We work on
Write it down
Cool.
and challenge me.
Yeah, I will do that. Awesome. Cédric, unless there's anything else that you want the listeners to know that you haven't had a chance to, I would like to thank you for the conversation. It was insightful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, happy to join. Thank you for the conversation. Yeah, one last thing, be yourself. I think that's the most important piece of the puzzle. Be a human, be yourself, increase your energy level, and stay enthusiastic and motivated despite the no's or the things that will happen in your sales process, in life, or whatever. So be yourself.